Hey everybody, it's Mrs. C, and I am coming to you with a quick video, I hope, on how to write the slope-intercept form of an equation of a line. I've had a lot of you coming up to me and saying, hey, where's your video on how to write in slope-intercept form? I can't find it, and I don't think I have one. Oh my gosh, it's so exciting. I'm going to do a new video just on writing in slope-intercept form. I have a lot of combination videos where we write in standard and we write in slope-intercept and we identify the slope and we graph, but nothing that I can find that just shows you just a quick intuitive on how to actually write an equation if it's not already in a specific form, and this one being slope-intercept, the best form out there. So let me just jump right in. So if we look at all of these are all in, you may or may not realize it, these are all in standard form right now, where the x and the y are together on one side and the constant is by itself on the other side of the equation. And what we want to do is we want to move some things around so that we have the y by itself in slope-intercept form. So just a reminder, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope, and I just wrote an x. I just realized what y equals mx plus b, where m, try that again, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. So if we come over here, we notice I am not in y equals, I'm in 3x minus 2y equals. So all we want to do is just get the y by itself. And that's going to be the job that I have every time I do this. Get that little variable, underlined the wrong, let's zoom this up a little. Let's just try that. I'm going to try to get the y alone. Now, in order to get the y alone, the first thing you want to do is move any other term that is on the term that has the y. Meaning, I have a negative 2y here. I'm trying to get that y by itself. I'm going to get this 3x out of the way first. And how do you get a positive 3x? You minus the 3x. So I'm minusing a 3x from both sides, and a lot of times people will say to me, wait a minute, I can't minus a 3x from that side because there's no other x term. And that's excellent. That's a super observation. You can't, but you can just sit them next to each other. So the negative 16 minus 3x, they just sit next to each other. And on the other side is now the negative 2y. There's no other x term or a b term or an L term, it doesn't matter. There's no other term over here. But I'm still trying to get the y alone. And right now, the y has a negative 2 on it. So how am I going to undo a negative 2 from being right next to the y? I'm going to divide. So because it's a multiplication relationship, I'm going to divide by the same number, divide by negative 2. But watch me. Whatever I do to one side, I must do equally to all terms on the other side. And so what we will do is wind up writing the final answer. I ran out of room on the bottom here. We will write the final answer as y equals, all by itself, negative 16 divided by 2. Let me do another color just so you can see where I am. I am simplifying that term first. What is a negative 16 divided by a negative 2? It's a positive 8. And so I'll write 8. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to simplify this term. What's a negative over a negative? A positive. Write the positive. 3 over 2, I can't simplify any better except maybe to write it as a decimal, but that's not simpler. That's just a different form. So I'll write 3 over 2. And I like my x off to the side, not up at the top. It doesn't matter. It just looks better, I think. So I'm going to switch sides here. I'm going to move these guys this way and these guys this way, just so that I'm in y equals mx plus b. So I'll keep the, oh no, I didn't mean that. I'm sorry. Let me see. I'm going to switch this guy over here, and I'm going to switch this guy over here, and watch what I have. Y is equal to, hey, 3/2 x, move to the front. Okay, no problem. Hey, 8, move to the back. Okay, no problem. And there we have it. Why would I want to move them like that? Because the form is y equals mx plus b. Look up here at the top. Y equals mx plus b. M being the number touching the x in the front, and b being the y-intercept is usually in the back. And if I keep them in this form, it's easy to notice. That's my slope, and that's my y-intercept. Okay, so the answer is, in slope-intercept form, the equation of the line would be written y equals 3/2 x plus 8. Okay, now I move to another problem, and here's the next problem we have. I'm going to try number 3. 9x minus 7y equals a negative 7. So I'm just going to jump right into this, a little bit less commentary, a little bit more practice. And so, yet again, going to try to get the y by itself, first by moving any other term. I'm going to minus the 9x. I'm going to minus the 9x, canceling, leaving a negative 7y, equal to, this time I'm going to put the x term in the front. Since I already know that's where I want it to be, I'm going to write it in the form that I'm going to eventually want it. So you see I put the negative 9x in the front and the minus 7 in the back. Now, last step is going to be to divide that negative 7 off and just clean up my terms. Here I have a y. Oh, I think I can squeeze that in. Here I can't do anything to this term except to say a negative over a negative is a positive. And you know what? I thought I had enough room, but I'm going to actually see that my fraction is going to get in the way. So sorry about this. Move over this way. Hope I'm not confusing you. We get a y equals a negative over negative is positive. It's a 9/7 x. I'm going to squeeze this in here. I think I can do it. Negative over negative is positive, but I can do a 7 over 7. 7 divided by 7 is 1. So my final answer is y equals, let me box this because it's a little smushed over here. There we go. Y equals a 9/7 x plus 1. Let's jump right into the next problem. That is in slope-intercept form. That's what we're doing. You know, you might ask yourself, why am I even bothering doing this? Well, let me explain. The reason we use slope-intercept form is because it will quickly identify what the slope and the intercept is. That way, if my intention is to graph, it's a much easier form to be in to graph accurately. So if I looked at this, 6x plus 5y equals negative 15, and I was just asked to admire it, I would say, hey, you standard form equation, you're very beautiful as you are. I wouldn't want to change it. But if I was asked to graph this equation on a coordinate plane, I would have a difficult time trying to identify what's the y, what's the m. So let's figure it out. What is the y? What is the m? Well, first thing, I already know I got to get this x term over. And you see it becomes very intuitive, doesn't it? It's just pretty much moving the same people over. We get a 5y now equal to, put the negative 6x in the front. I'm going to divide everybody by whatever's touching my y. Oh, I made it. I actually have room. I have y equals, I can't do anything to that. It's just a negative 6 over 5x. I can do a negative 15 divided by negative 5. I get a negative 3. My final answer right there, in slope-intercept form, the equation would be a negative, y is equal to a negative 6 over 5x minus 3. Where my, just want to connect the dots here, literally, where my negative 3 is the value of my b. If I had a graph, 1, 2, 3, I know that my line is going to be crossing at that point, negative 3, on the coordinate plane. I also know that from that point, I'm going to rise negative 6 and run 5, which means either I'm going to go down 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and run 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then put a point there. Or my other option is to rise 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and run 5 in the opposite direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then simply connect the dots. That is how I would graph from slope-intercept form. And I have a video on graphing in slope-intercept form, so you can always watch that. That's a good one. Now I'm going to go over to the next page because not always do they look like they're in standard form. Sometimes they're easier, like a negative 2y equals 3 excuse me, plus x. That's actually easier, but sometimes if you're not used to looking at it like that, you get confused. What do I do? If you're asked to write in slope-intercept form, you always do the same thing. You get the y by itself. In this case, here's my y. The only thing in the way from being alone, right, on that line, on that side, is this negative 2. So I'm going to divide by a negative 2 because the relationship is multiplication. I'm going to divide everybody by a negative 2, and I'm going to clean it up. I'm going to have y equal to, I'll stick with what it looks like here for a minute, excuse me, negative 3 halves. We just put that negative up in the middle. And then we have a minus, because it's a positive divided by a negative is negative. And then here's where some people get a little confused. You divided x by 2. Anything divided by 2 is a half, unless there's another number up here with my x, which there's not. In this case, it's a 1 divided by 2. Had it been a 5 divided by 2, had it been off to the side, 5x divided by 2, you would have had no problem, because you would have most likely left it 5x over 2, or option 5 over 2x. The problem comes when you guys don't have a coefficient. In the case of this problem, right, you only had an x. When you do the x and divide by a number, just squeeze a little 1 up there if it makes it easier for you. There, you see your 1/2? It's a 1/2 x. Or if it had been divided by 3, it would have been a 1/3 x. It's very simple, but it's those simple things that confuse us a little bit. So don't be confused. It's just minus a 1/2 x. Now, is that in the slope-intercept form? Not technically. This is my intercept, and this is my slope. So I want to move them around, swap sides, or it's really not sides. The y stays on its side. These guys just shuffle. And why would I want to do that? Because I like my m in the front and my b in the back. Let me give you another one. What if it had everybody? Let's do 3x minus y plus 7 equals 2. That just looks like craziness, right? I'm supposed to put that in slope-intercept form? It's easy. Get the y by itself. It's always the same thing. Start by moving the terms that are on the same side as y. Addition, subtraction, relationship, right? They're not timesing. The 7 is adding to that side. It's not timesing. So what I want to do is the opposite would be to just minus the 7. Now in this case, I can minus a 7 from a 2, which is nice. Set a 2 and a negative 7 is going to give me 7, 6, 5, a negative 5. And it's going to leave all this other stuff on the other side. Just changing my colors to try to make this. I don't know if the colors make it any easier or not. Okay, I moved the 5 over. Now I've got to move over the x term. I'm going to minus the 3x from that side. Minus the 3x from this side. I'm going to be left with, back to purple, right? I'm going to be left with a negative y equal to, hey, x term, get in the front. Aye, Captain. Negative 3x, negative 5, get in the back. There you go. Am I done? I heard some of you say yes, and then I heard a bunch of you say no, and then there's the rest of you that fell asleep. Wake up. Okay. What do we have to do? Are we done? Did we get everything off of my y? Is my y by itself? Not technically, because I still have a negative. Remember I said anything that's, you don't see a number, it's a 1. If you don't see a number, it's a 1. So what we would then want to do is just divide that negative off. And if it helps you to put the 1, go for it. Divide everybody. Why divide? Because it's a -1 or a negative times a y. So I want to divide to undo that. And so I'm out of room here. I'm going to try and squeeze this in again. In a green for good and go. So I divide off that. I get my y by itself. I do my real quick, negative over a negative is a positive. So I went up with a 3x. And a negative over a negative is a positive, plus 5. Final answer, if I can box it, y is equal to 3x plus 5. And guys, that's it. That's writing equations in slope-intercept form. It doesn't matter how complicated the equation. The object of the game is always the same. Get the y by itself. I hope this helped. Hope it was a great way to either start your day, continue your day, or end your day. Don't know, but I hope I made some special something to your day. Now, I got to go get ready for work. So you know what? Peace out. See you on the flip side.